The large meeting room was quiet except for the soft hum of air systems. Lucy Miller stood at the back wall, watching the 6 other humans seated at the long table. As a communications specialist for Earth's United Defense Force, her job was simple today: record everything and stay out of the way. Lucy was young for her position, only 22 years old with bright eyes and short brown hair cut to military standards. This was her first off-world diplomatic mission, and she had been excited when Captain James picked her to join the team. Remember, Captain James had told her before they left their ship, "The Krell are not like us. They think differently. Watch their movements, not just their words." The Krell sat across from the humans. They looked like giant insects walking on 2 legs. Their hard outer shells were dark green and brown, and their forearms ended in clawed hands. Their faces had large compound eyes that never blinked and mouth parts that clicked when they spoke. The meeting was supposed to be peaceful. The humans wanted to talk about trade routes through this part of space. The Krell had controlled this sector for hundreds of years, but humans were new here. In just 100 years, humans had spread to more star systems than most alien races did in 1,000 years. This made the Krell nervous. Lucy noticed something was wrong about 30 minutes into the meeting. The Krell guards at the door kept looking at each other. Their antennae twitched more than normal. Lucy had studied Krell body language for weeks before this mission. Those twitching antennae meant they were excited or nervous. She slowly reached up and tapped the small communication device behind her ear. It connected her directly to the human ship in orbit. "Something's not right," she whispered. Before anyone could respond, the doors burst open. 20 Krell soldiers rushed in with weapons pointed at the humans. "What is the meaning of this?" Captain James stood up, his hands carefully visible and empty. "We came here to talk in peace." The largest Krell stepped forward. His shell was decorated with red markings that showed his high rank. 4 shiny medals hung from a chain around his neck. "I am Lord Vex, military commander of the Krell Defense Force," he said. His voice came through a translator device, but still had a clicking sound behind the words. "You humans have hidden your true strengths from us. We will find what you are hiding." Captain James kept his voice calm. "We hide nothing. Our mission is open and honest." "Lies." Lord Vex slammed one of his 4 hands on the table. "No species advances as quickly as humans have without secret weapons or technology." Lucy watched as the other Krell soldiers moved around the table. They were going to take the human team prisoner. Her hand moved toward the small pistol hidden under her uniform jacket. Then she stopped. Using a weapon now would only prove the Krell right about humans being dangerous. Captain James must have thought the same thing. He motioned for his team to stay calm. "We will come with you peacefully until this misunderstanding is cleared up," he said. "I request to contact our ship." Lord Vex made a sound that might have been a laugh. "No communications. You humans think we are simple. We are not." The soldiers began to take the humans away. Lucy stepped forward to join her team when a Krell officer pointed at her. "Not that one," the officer said. "Lord Vex wants the young female separated." Captain James turned sharply. "No, we stay together. This is against all diplomatic rules." But 3 Krell soldiers already grabbed Lucy. She didn't fight as they pulled her toward a different door than the rest of the team. "Captain," she called out. "What should I do?" "Stay calm, Miller. We'll find you," Captain James shouted before. A Krell soldier pushed him through a doorway. The Krell took Lucy down a long hallway. The walls were made of a strange material that looked like metal but felt like stone. The lights were dim and had a greenish color that hurt her eyes. As they walked, Lucy activated the hidden system inside her body. No one outside of Earth's highest military command knew about the neural implants that all United Defense Force soldiers carried. The small device sat at the base of her skull, connected directly to her brain. It could record everything she saw, heard, and felt. It could also send emergency signals across vast distances using technology humans had discovered, but kept secret from other species. Lucy sent the emergency code: capture, hostile, location unknown. The signal would reach Earth's defense network in minutes. Help would come, but she didn't know if it would come in time. The soldiers took her to a small room deep inside the Krell ship. The room had a single metal table in the center with straps attached to it. Strange machines lined the walls. Lucy didn't recognize most of them, but some looked like medical equipment. Lord Vex was waiting for her. "Human female," he said. "You will help us understand your species." Lucy stood straight, trying to look brave, despite her racing heart. "My name is Private Lucy Miller, Communications Specialist, Earth United Defense Force. I demand to be returned to my team." Lord Vex moved closer. He was almost twice her height. His compound eyes reflected her scared face many times over. "You misunderstand, human. You are not a prisoner of war. You are a test subject." The words sent cold fear through Lucy's body. The Krell had planned this from the beginning. The diplomatic meeting was just a trap to capture humans. "Why me?" Lucy asked, her voice shaking slightly. "You are young, female, physically small. The weakest example of your species," Lord Vex explained. "If we learn what makes even the weakest human strong, we will understand all humans." Two soldiers grabbed Lucy's arms while another began to remove her uniform jacket. "You can't do this." Lucy struggled now, but the Krell were much stronger than her. "This violates every law of the Stellar Alliance." Lord Vex made that strange laughing sound. "Again, the strong make the laws, human. We Krell have been strong for thousands of years. You humans are new, expanding too quickly. We must understand you before you become a threat." They stripped away her equipment and secured her to the cold metal table. The straps were tight across her chest, arms, legs, and head. She could barely move. A smaller Krell entered the room. This one wore markings that showed he was a science officer. "Begin recording," Lord Vex ordered. "Subject is human female, approximately 8 cycles old." "I'm 22 years old," Lucy corrected, her voice steadier than she expected. Lord Vex ignored her. "First we will test pain tolerance, then nerve response, then psychological breaking points. Be thorough, science officer. I want to know everything about human physiology." The science officer nodded and moved to one of the machines. "Should I keep the subject alive?" Lucy's blood went cold at the casual way they discussed her possible death. Lord Vex considered for a moment. "For as long as she provides useful data, no longer." As the science officer approached with a device that hummed with energy, Lucy closed her eyes. Her neural implant was recording everything. If she died here, Earth would know exactly what happened to her. Her last clear thought before the pain began was simple. They don't understand what they're doing. They don't know what humans are capable of when pushed too far. The torture began, and with it, the countdown to war. Time lost all meaning for Lucy Miller. The bright lights of the Krell torture chamber never dimmed, giving her no sense of day or night. The cold metal table beneath her back was the only constant in a world of changing pains. "Increase the nerve. Stimulator to level 4, Lord Vex ordered. The tall Krell commander stood near the wall, watching as his science officer worked the machines connected to Lucy's body. The science officer, who Lucy had heard called Dr. Krat, adjusted a dial on a small box. Sharp, burning pain shot through Lucy's legs and arms. Her back arched against the restraints as she bit her lip to keep from screaming. "Interesting," Dr. Krat said, his insect-like mouth parts clicking as he spoke. "Human pain responses are stronger than most species, yet she resists making noise." Lord Vex stepped closer to the table. His large compound eyes reflected Lucy's face dozens of times. "Is that pride, human? Do you think staying quiet makes you strong?" Lucy said nothing. Her breaths came in short gasps as the pain slowly faded. 3 hours, or maybe it was 3 days. She couldn't tell anymore if torture had taught her that talking only gave them more ideas. Inside her mind, Lucy focused on one thought. The neural implant is recording everything. Every pain, every question, every method they used. Earth would know it all. This thought kept her going when the pain became too much. "Move to the psychological tests," Lord Vex commanded. "Physical pain isn't producing the information we need." Dr. Krat brought forward a new machine. This one had a small helmet attachment that he placed over Lucy's head. The inside of the helmet was lined with small metal contacts that pressed against her scalp. This device will access your memory centers, Dr. Kratt explained almost kindly, as if he were a real doctor helping a patient. It will find your worst fears and make you experience them. Lucy tried to shake her head, but the restraints held her firmly in place. "It won't work," she said, her voice rough from screaming earlier. "Our minds don't work like yours." Lord Vex made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. "All minds break eventually, human. Yours is no different." The machine hummed to life. Lucy felt a strange pressure inside her head, like fingers pushing into her brain. Then images began to flash before her eyes, memories mixed with nightmares. She saw her home on Earth burning, her family dying, the colony world where she grew up being destroyed by Krell ships, her fellow soldiers being torn apart by alien claws. Lucy knew these weren't real. The device was creating false images from her own fears. But knowing something isn't real doesn't stop the fear when you can see, hear, and feel it happening. Her heart rate is increasing dramatically, Dr. Kratt reported, watching a screen that showed Lucy's vital signs. Brain activity is off the charts. I've never seen such intense responses. Through the false images, Lucy focused on her training. The implant is recording. Stay strong. They don't know about the neural network. The Krell had no idea that the small device at the base of Lucy's skull wasn't just recording. It was connecting her directly to Earth's defense network. Every sensation, every thought, every moment of her torture was being transmitted back to Earth. After what felt like hours, the mind machine was turned off. Lucy lay gasping on the table, tears streaming down her face. "Remarkable resilience," Dr. Kratt said, making notes on a small tablet. "Most subjects break completely after the fear simulator." Lord Vex leaned over Lucy. "What makes humans so different? How have you spread across so many worlds so quickly? What technologies are you hiding?" Lucy turned her head away from him. Her throat was dry, her voice barely a whisper. "We just want to live in peace." "Peace?" Lord Vex spat the word. "No species achieves what humans have through peace. You've expanded into 50 star systems in just 1 century. The Krell took 5 centuries to control 10 systems. This is not natural." "Maybe. You're just slow," Lucy said, immediately regretting the words as Lord Vex's upper right hand struck her face. "Bring the cellular disruptor," he ordered Dr. Kratt. "Let's see how human cells respond to targeted breakdown." As Dr. Kratt prepared another machine, a different Krell entered the room. This one wore the markings of a communications officer. Lord Vex were detecting unusual energy readings from the human. Lord Vex turned quickly. "What kind of readings?" "Unknown, sir. It appears to be coming from the base of her skull." Lucy felt a moment of panic. They had discovered her implant. If they removed it, the connection to Earth would be lost. Lord Vex returned to the table, his clawed hand roughly grabbing Lucy's head and turning it to examine the back of her neck. "There's something embedded here, a device of some kind." "Shall I remove it for study?" Dr. Kratt asked, picking up a cutting tool. "No!" Lucy couldn't help her outburst. "It's just a standard military ID chip. All Earth soldiers have them." Lord Vex studied her face. "You're lying. Your fear response is too strong for a simple ID chip." He turned to Dr. Kratt. "Continue with the cellular disruptor. We'll examine the device after we're finished with the rest of the tests." The new machine was wheeled next to the table. It had a long, thin rod with a glowing blue tip. Dr. Kratt held it over Lucy's right arm. "This will break down your cells one by one," he explained. "The pain is quite significant." When the rod touched her skin, Lucy couldn't hold back her scream. It felt like her arm was being eaten from the inside out. The pain was beyond anything she had experienced before. Through the haze of agony, Lucy's thoughts became clear and cold. "They're going to kill me, but Earth will know. Earth will respond." For 11 hours, the torture continued. The Krell tried. Different machines, different methods. They injected her with chemicals that made her muscles spasm. They used sound waves that made her feel like her bones were cracking. They used light patterns that caused hallucinations. Through it all, Lucy's implant recorded and transmitted. Her body was failing. She could feel it shutting down. Her heart, once strong and steady, now fluttered weakly in her chest. Her lungs struggled to draw each breath. Her life signs are dropping quickly, Dr. Kratt reported. We may have pushed too far. Lord Vex watched Lucy's pale face, her half-closed eyes. Has she revealed anything of value? Nothing, sir. No military secrets. No explanation for human expansion. Nothing about hidden technologies. Disappointing. Lord Vex sighed. I thought humans were supposed to be special. This one seems as fragile as any other species. Lucy's vision was darkening around the edges. Her thoughts were becoming jumbled. But one last clear thought formed in her mind. They think we're weak, because I'm dying. They don't understand that death isn't the end for us anymore. Lord Vex leaned close to Lucy's face. Any last words, human? Any secrets you want to share before you die? Lucy gathered her remaining strength. Her voice was barely a whisper, but clear enough for the Krell to hear. You should have left us alone. Her heart gave a final, weak beat and then stopped. Lucy Miller was dead. Dispose of the body, Lord Vex ordered, already moving toward the door. Send the data to analysis. Perhaps we'll learn something useful from it. As the Krell soldiers removed Lucy's body, her neural implant performed its final function. For 3 minutes after clinical death, it continued to transmit, sending the location of the Krell mothership, the faces of those responsible, and complete neurological records of Lucy's final moments. Back on Earth, in the Defense Command Center, computers received the final transmission. The countdown to war had begun. Admiral Tom Rogers sat motionless in his chair at the center of Earth's Defense Command Center. The large underground facility was usually busy with the sounds of officers talking and computers beeping. Now it was completely silent. Everyone had just witnessed Private Lucy Miller's death through the neural feed. The massive screen at the front of the room had shown everything. 11 hours of torture compressed into 20 minutes of the most horrible images any of them had ever seen. The Admiral was an older man with gray hair and a face marked by years of difficult decisions. He had seen war before. He had given orders that sent good people to their deaths. But he had never seen anything like what happened to Lucy Miller. Around him, hardened military officers, men and women who had faced death many times, wiped tears from their faces or stared blankly ahead, struggling to process what they had witnessed. Major Lisa Chen, the neural network specialist, stood beside the main computer terminal. Her hands trembled slightly as she turned to the Admiral. Sir, the final data packet from Private Miller's implant has arrived. Time of death was 19 minutes and 47 seconds ago. We have the exact coordinates of the Krell mothership and complete biological records up to the moment her heart stopped. Admiral Rogers took a deep breath. When he spoke, his voice was calm and terribly quiet. 20 minutes, he said, looking at the time display on the wall. That's how long it's been since her heart stopped. He paused, then added 6 words that would change the galaxy forever. Initiate Protocol Omega. All systems go. Major Chen's eyes widened. Sir, Protocol Omega? Are you certain? Protocol Omega was created after humanity's first devastating encounter with hostile aliens 60 years ago. Millions had died before humans developed the technology to fight back. After that war, Earth's leaders vowed it would never happen again. They built weapons and defenses beyond anything other species could imagine. They hid their true strength and waited, hoping they would never need to use it. Protocol Omega was the ultimate response, immediate, overwhelming force without warning or negotiation. I've never been more certain of anything in my life, Major, Admiral Rogers said, standing up. The Krell tortured one of our own to death while seeking military intelligence. Under Galactic law, that's an act of war. Under human law, torture is unforgivable. He walked to the central command station and placed his hand on the security scanner. Admiral Thomas Rogers, Authorization code Omega 7 Delta 9. Confirm Protocol Omega. The computer's voice was calm and female. Protocol Omega confirmed. All fleet commands notified. Hidden assets activating. Neural network at war status. Time to full deployment. 5 minutes. Throughout human space, hidden military systems came to life. Beneath the oceans of colony, worlds, massive factories began producing advanced weapons. In the rings of gas giants where sensors couldn't penetrate, stealth fleets powered up engines that had been dormant for years. Soldiers across 100 worlds received the neural alert, informing them that humanity was now at war. But the most important activity happened in a medical facility deep beneath the surface of Earth. Dr. James Wilson hurried through the white hallway of the Resurrection Center. As the head of the Consciousness Transfer Program, he had been notified the moment Protocol Omega was activated. He entered a large circular room filled with medical equipment. In the center was a single bed where a young woman with short brown hair lay unconscious. She looked peaceful, as if sleeping. This was not Lucy Miller's original body that still floated in a waste disposal unit on the Krell ship. This was her clone body, grown from her DNA and kept ready, just like the clone bodies of every human soldier. "How soon can she be revived?" asked a voice from the doorway. Dr. Wilson turned to see Admiral Rogers entering the room. The Admiral had come directly from the command center to witness this moment. "Her consciousness transfer is complete, Dr. O," Wilson explained. "All memories intact up to the moment of death. We're letting her sleep through the pain memories. She doesn't need to experience that again." "When will she wake up?" "Within the hour. But she'll need time to adjust. Death is traumatic, even with our technology." Admiral Rogers nodded, looking at Lucy's peaceful face. "Make sure she knows what her sacrifice has done. Make sure she knows we're making the Krell pay." "Yes, sir," Dr. Wilson replied quietly. Back in the command center, Major Chen monitored the activation of humanity's hidden fleets. For decades, humans had pretended to be less advanced than they truly were. Their ships appeared slow and poorly armed to alien observers. Their soldiers seemed to rely on primitive weapons and armor. It was all an act. Human ships actually used dimensional technology that allowed them to appear anywhere in space without traveling through it. Human soldiers wore powered armor that made them stronger than most alien species. And most importantly, human warriors could no longer truly die, thanks to the neural network and cloning technology. "Fleet Admiral Jackson reports all stealth destroyers activated and ready," an officer called out. "General Patel reports all ground forces at battle stations. Neural network operating at 100% efficiency." On the main screen, thousands of small lights appeared, representing human ships emerging from hiding places throughout Krell territory. The attack was coordinated through the neural network, allowing every ship and soldier to act with perfect timing. "First reports coming in from Krell space," another officer announced. "Their border stations are already neutralized. No casualties on our side." Inside the Krell mothership, Lord Vex was enjoying a meal when the alarms began. He rushed to the command center where officers were shouting over each other. "What's happening?" he demanded. "Human ships, sir," a panicked officer replied. "Hundreds of them, thousands. They're appearing inside our defensive perimeter." "Impossible," Lord Vex said. "Our scanners would have detected an approaching fleet." "They didn't approach, they just appeared, and they're everywhere at once." On the display screen, Lord Vex watched as human warships materialized throughout Krell space. These were not the simple, bulky transport ships he was familiar with. These vessels were sleek, deadly, and unlike anything he had seen before. "How are they coordinating such a massive attack?" he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. The truth dawned slowly. Humans hadn't been hiding their military capabilities, out of weakness but out of mercy. They had hoped peaceful relations could be established without revealing their true nature. In his private quarters, Lord Vex accessed the footage from Lucy Miller's torture session. He watched again as the human girl died, listening to her final words with new understanding. "You should have left us alone." Now he knew why she had said that. It wasn't a plea, it was a warning. Admiral Rogers stood at the central command station, watching as reports flooded in from across Krell space. The battle, if it could even be called that, was progressing exactly as planned. "Sir," Major Chen said, approaching him with a data tablet. "The Krell homeworld is sending messages of surrender." "Are they now?" Admiral Rogers said quietly. "Tell me, Major, if the Krell had received surrender messages from us after they took Private Miller, would they have stopped torturing her?" Major Chen's expression hardened. "No, sir, they wouldn't have." "Then we don't stop either. Not until every Krell military installation is destroyed and their leadership is captured." The Admiral's eyes were cold as he added, "They need to learn exactly what happens when you torture a human to death." Across the stars, the message was becoming clear to all alien species watching this conflict unfold. Humans weren't just another spacefaring race. They were something far more dangerous than anyone had realized. And now, the galaxy would never be the same. Lord Vex stood at the main viewport of his command ship, watching as another Krell defense station exploded in silent fire. His hands gripped the railing so tightly that his claws left marks in the metal. In just 6 hours, the humans had destroyed more Krell military assets than all other alien conflicts had in the last century. "How is this possible?" he asked no one in particular. "How did they hide such power from us?" Commander Zeke, his second-in-command, approached cautiously. "Sir, we've lost contact with all outer colonies. Our home defense fleet reports human ships appearing inside our formation. They're using some kind of technology we've never seen before." Lord Vex turned from the viewport. "Show me." On the large screen at the center of the command bridge, a recording played of a human warship. Unlike the bulky transport vessels the Krell were familiar with, this ship was sleek and deadly. As they watched, the ship seemed to flicker and then vanished completely. A moment later, it reappeared behind a Krell cruiser and fired weapons that cut through the Krell shields as if they weren't there. "They're not using normal space travel," Commander Zik explained. "Our scientists think they're using dimensional shifting, moving between layers of reality instead of traveling through space." Lord Vex felt cold fear spread through his body. The Krell had theorized about such technology, but had never managed to develop it. If humans had mastered dimensional travel, there was no defense against them. "And that's not all," Commander Zik continued, his voice dropping lower. "We've captured images of their ground forces." The screen changed to show human soldiers fighting on one of the Krell colonies. The humans wore armor unlike anything Lord Vex had seen before, form-fitting suits that seemed to enhance their movements. A Krell warrior, nearly twice the size of a human, charged at one of the soldiers. The human didn't even dodge. Instead, the soldier caught the Krell's attack with one hand and threw the warrior through a wall with impossible strength. "Exoskeletons," Commander Zik said. "Powered armor that makes them stronger than our strongest warriors." But the most disturbing footage came next. A human soldier was hit directly by Krell weapons fire. The blast tore through the soldier's chest, a wound that should have been instantly fatal. Yet the human kept fighting for nearly a minute before finally falling. "They don't die like normal beings," Commander Zik whispered. "It's as if they don't fear death at all." Lord Vex remembered the human girl, Lucy Miller, how she had endured hours of torture without revealing anything important, how her final words had been a warning, not a plea. Now he understood why. "We've made a terrible mistake," Lord Vex said quietly. On the far side of Krell space, a fleet of human destroyers led by Captain Maya Williams approached a major Krell military base. Captain Williams was one of Earth's most decorated officers, known for her strategic brilliance. "All ships in position," her tactical officer reported. "Neural network synchronization at 100%. The Krell have detected us and are raising their shields." Captain Williams nodded. She could feel the presence of the other ship captains in her fleet through the neural link they shared. In battle, human forces could think and act as one mind, while still maintaining individual decision-making abilities. "Begin the attack," she ordered. "Remember what they did to Private Miller." The memory of Lucy's torture had been shared across the neural network. Every human soldier had witnessed what the Krell had done. It created a unity of purpose unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The human ships activated their dimensional drives simultaneously, disappearing from their positions and reappearing inside the Krell base's defensive perimeter. The Krell, weapons, calibrated to hit targets moving through normal space, couldn't track ships that simply vanished and reappeared. "Target their weapons platforms first," Captain Williams commanded. "Then communication arrays. I want them blind and defenseless." Human weapons, advanced energy cannons that the Krell had never seen before, cut through the alien defenses with ease. The Krell tried to fight back, but their ships were too slow, their weapons too weak in comparison. Captain Williams watched the battle with cold focus. She had known Lucy Miller. The young communications specialist had served on her ship before being assigned to the diplomatic mission. Now Williams was ensuring that Lucy's death would not go unanswered. On the Krell homeworld, panic spread through the civilian population. The ruling council gathered in their underground bunker, frantically trying to understand how their powerful military had been so completely overwhelmed. "We must surrender immediately," urged Council Member Traz, the oldest and wisest of the group. "The humans are destroying everything. They've already taken out our orbital defenses." "Surrender?" High Council Leader Mock scoffed. "To a species we considered primitive just days ago, there must be a way to fight back." "You don't understand," Traz said, his voice shaking. "I've reviewed the data from Lord Vex's ship. The human they tortured. Her neural implant wasn't just for communication. It recorded everything they did to her. Every moment of pain, every question asked. The humans know exactly what we did, and they're making us pay for it." The council chamber fell silent as this information sank in. Then warning alarms began to sound. "Human ships have entered the atmosphere," a guard announced. "They're landing troops in the capital city." Through emergency channels, they watched as human soldiers in powered armor moved through the streets of their capital. The Krell Home Guard fought bravely, but were no match for the advanced human weapons and armor. What surprised the council most was the human soldiers' efficiency. They targeted military installations and government buildings with precision, largely avoiding civilian areas. This wasn't random destruction. This was a carefully executed military operation. Back on the Owl, human command ship, Admiral Rogers received updates from all fronts of the war. After just 12 hours of fighting, the Krell military infrastructure was in ruins. Their fleets were destroyed or captured, their bases overrun, their leadership in hiding. "Admiral, we've received another surrender message from the Krell Council," Major Chen reported. "This is the 5th one." Admiral Rogers nodded slowly. "It's time to respond. Prepare a communication channel to their council." When the connection was established, the frightened faces of the Krell leadership appeared on screen. Admiral Rogers looked at them with cold eyes. "I am Admiral Tom Rogers of Earth's United Defense Force. You've been sending surrender messages for hours. Now I'm ready to talk." "We surrender completely," High Council Leader Mock said quickly. "We'll agree to any terms." "Here are my terms," Admiral Rogers said. "First, all those involved in the torture and death of Private Lucy Miller will be handed over for trial under human law. Second, all Krell military assets will be dismantled under human supervision. Third, the Krell will pay reparations to the families of all humans harmed in this conflict." "And if we agree to these terms?" Council Member Traz asked cautiously. "Then the killing stops," Admiral Rogers replied simply. "Humans don't seek vengeance against civilians. We don't torture. We don't destroy unnecessarily. That's the difference between us." The Krell leaders looked at each other in confusion. Their own species would have shown no such mercy. "There's one more thing," Admiral Rogers added. "A representative will be coming to your world to oversee the surrender personally. Someone who has a unique perspective on Krell justice." The screen changed to show a young woman with short brown hair and determined eyes. The Krell Council members gasped as they recognized her face. "I believe you've met Private Lucy Miller," Admiral Rogers said. "She's very much looking forward to seeing you again." The war was over almost as quickly as it had begun. The galaxy watched in shock as the mighty Krell Empire fell in less than a day to a species they had all underestimated. And every alien civilization learned an important lesson. Humans were not what they appeared to be, and the greatest mistake any species could make was to earn their wrath. 1 week after the start of the war, Lucy Miller stood in the Great Hall of the Krell High Council building. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, illuminating the circular room where the fate of the Krell civilization would be decided. Lucy wore her formal military uniform with the insignia of Earth's United Defense Force proudly displayed on her chest. It felt strange to be alive. Her memories of death were clear, the pain, the final moments of darkness, and then nothing. When she had awakened in her new body at the Resurrection Center on Earth, it had taken hours to accept that she was really alive again. Now she stood before the aliens who had killed her, representing the human race they had so drastically underestimated. Free. Doors at the far end of the hall opened. Guards led in a prisoner wearing restraints on all 4 of his arms. Lucy immediately recognized Lord Vex. The once proud Krell military commander now moved with his head lowered, his normally shiny shell looking dull and scratched. The guards brought him to stand before Lucy. For a long moment, neither spoke. Lord Vex finally raised his head, his compound eyes reflecting Lucy's face. "You died," he said simply. "I watched you die." Lucy nodded. "Yes, I did die. And then I came back." Lord Vex's mouth parts clicked in what might have been confusion. How is this possible? Is this some kind of trick? A clone with implanted memories? Not a trick, Lucy explained. This is my body, grown from my DNA and waiting for me if I ever died. My consciousness was transferred through the neural implant you discovered but didn't understand. Around them, human and Krell officials watched this exchange in silence. This meeting was being broadcast across the galaxy. Every spacefaring species was watching, learning the truth about humans that had been hidden for so long. "You don't understand what you've done," Lucy continued, her voice calm but firm. "Humans weren't always like this. We were once as vulnerable as you thought we were." She walked slowly around Lord Vex, not out of intimidation, but to address the entire room and the cameras capturing the moment. 300 years ago, humans nearly destroyed themselves through war, she explained. Our planet was devastated. Billions died. Those who survived looked at the ruins of their civilization and made a promise. Never again. Lucy stopped in front of Lord Vex again. We rebuilt. We developed technologies that would ensure such suffering could never happen again. Neural backups to prevent permanent death, unified consciousness networks to promote empathy and cooperation, and advanced weapons we kept hidden to avoid provoking conflicts. Why hide your strength? Lord Vex asked. The Krell display power proudly to prevent others from attacking us. Lucy smiled sadly. That's the difference between our species. We became what we are because we experienced such pain that we vowed never to inflict it on others unnecessarily. For centuries we've lived by one rule above all others. We do not torture. Not ever. The hall was completely silent as Lucy's words sank in. Even the Krell Council members, seated at their elevated platform, seemed to be thinking deeply about what she said. You thought torture would reveal our secrets, Lucy continued. Instead, it revealed yours, that the Krell still believe strength comes from causing pain and fear. We learned that lesson centuries ago. True strength comes from restraint. Admiral, Rogers stepped forward to stand beside Lucy. The terms of surrender will be implemented immediately, he announced, but they're not as harsh as they could be. We won't occupy your worlds permanently. We won't demand your resources. We won't torture your leaders, even those directly responsible for Private Miller's death. The Krell Council leader looked confused. If not these things, what do you want? From us? Admiral Rogers gestured to Lucy, allowing her to answer. Understanding, she said simply. We want you to understand that the galaxy doesn't have to be ruled by whoever causes the most fear. There's another way. Over the next few hours, Lucy and the human delegation explained the details of the peace terms. The Krell would disarm their most dangerous weapons. They would join an alliance with humans and other peaceful species. They would learn about the neural network technology that allowed humans to share experiences and knowledge instantly across vast distances. After the formal meetings ended, Lucy found herself alone with Lord Vex in a small garden outside the council building. Guards watched, from a distance, but gave them privacy to talk. I still don't understand, Lord Vex said, looking at the flowering plants instead of at Lucy. You could have destroyed our entire civilization. Your weapons could have shattered our homeworld. Why didn't you? Because that's not who we are, Lucy replied. Not anymore. But I tortured you, Lord Vex said, his voice oddly quiet. I watched you die. Lucy took a deep breath. This was the hardest part of her mission. Yes, you did, and I remember every second of it. Then how can you stand here talking to me? How can you not want revenge? Lucy looked up at the sky where stars were just becoming visible as the day ended. When I joined Earth's Defense Force, I took an oath to protect all intelligent life, not just human life. That includes the Krell. Even after what happened, she turned to face him directly. Revenge is easy. Forgiveness is hard. We chose the harder path a long time ago. Lord Vex was silent for a long moment. Then he said something that surprised Lucy. I wish to experience the neural network. I wish to feel what you felt. Lucy's eyes widened. That would be intense. You would experience my torture from my perspective. Most non-humans can't handle that level of neural sharing. I need to understand, Lord Vex insisted. If our species is to change, I must truly know what we did. 2 days later, in a specially prepared medical facility, Lord Vex was connected to a modified version of the human neural network. Under careful supervision, he experienced Lucy's memories, not just of torture, but of her childhood on Earth, her training, her hopes for peaceful contact with alien species, and finally, the pain and fear of her death. When the connection was broken, the Krell commander lay silently for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice had changed. How do you bear it? He asked Lucy, who sat beside his recovery bed. How do you bear knowing what it feels like to die? We share the burden, she explained. Through the neural network, no human ever suffers alone. Our worst experiences become lessons for all of us. Throughout the galaxy, the story spread quickly among alien civilizations. Humans were not what they had appeared to be. They weren't just another spacefaring species struggling to claim territory and resources. They were something else entirely, a race that had faced extinction and emerged transformed. They possessed technologies beyond what any other species had developed. They could cheat death itself. Their ships could move through dimensions rather than just through space. Their soldiers fought with perfect coordination through their shared neural connection. But most importantly, they had developed a moral code that was as advanced as their technology. They fought when necessary, but preferred peace. They could destroy worlds, but chose to heal them instead. They remembered every injustice done to them, but chose forgiveness over revenge when possible. 6 months after what became known as the 20-Minute War, Lucy Miller stood on the observation deck of a human hospital ship orbiting the Krell homeworld. Below, human medical teams were teaching Krell doctors how to use regenerative technologies that could heal injuries once considered fatal. Admiral Rogers joined her at the viewport. The Krell are adapting well, he noted. Their scientists are already making improvements to our neural interface designs. Lucy nodded. They learn quickly when they're not focused on domination. Are you still having the dreams? The Admiral asked gently. Sometimes, Lucy admitted. Death had left its mark on her, despite the new body and the support of the neural network. But they're getting less frequent. Good. Admiral Rogers turned to face her. The Galactic Council is meeting next month. They've asked for a human representative to explain our technologies and our philosophy. I think you would be perfect for the role. Lucy smiled slightly. From torture victim to Galactic ambassador. Not what I expected when I joined the Defense Force. The universe rarely gives us what we expect, the Admiral replied. But sometimes it gives us what we need. As they looked down at the Krell world below, Lucy thought about how one act of cruelty had exposed the truth about humanity to the galaxy. The Krell had tortured her to death looking for humanity's secrets. In doing so, they had revealed the greatest secret of all. that humans had learned to overcome their darkest instincts and build something better. The girl who had been tortured to death now worked to build peace with her killers. There could be no clearer demonstration of humanity's true strength at the end. The night sky exploded with fire. Tom Miller stood on his porch, coffee mug halfway to his lips, as he watched what looked like a falling star cutting through the darkness. But this was no ordinary meteor. It moved too slowly, changed direction twice, and left a trail of blue-green flame behind it. At 52 years old, Tom had seen many strange things during his 20 years in the military, but nothing like this. Well, he muttered to himself, setting down his mug. Guess I better check it out. He grabbed his old truck keys, a flashlight, and the pistol he kept by the door. Living alone in the countryside meant being prepared for anything, though he doubted his pistol would help much if what he suspected was true. The drive took 30 minutes across bumpy farm roads. The star had crashed somewhere in the forest that bordered his property. As he got closer, the trees glowed with an eerie blue light. The air smelled like metal and ozone. Tom parked his truck at the forest edge and continued on foot. The crash site wasn't hard to find. A long trench had been carved through the trees, ending in a clearing where something large and metallic rested. It wasn't from Earth. No human craft looked like this. The ship was roughly the size of a small bus, with smooth, silver-white metal that seemed to glow from within. One side was badly damaged with what looked like burn marks and tears in the hull. Something had attacked it. "Hello?" Tom called out, keeping his distance. "Anyone need help?" A hissing sound answered him as a section of the hull slid open. Tom raised his pistol instinctively, then lowered it when he saw what emerged. The creature looked almost human, 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, but the similarities ended there. Its skin was pale blue and seemed to have a slight glow. It had no hair and its eyes were large, silver, and had no pupils. It wore what appeared to be some kind of uniform, white with strange symbols that shifted and changed as Tom watched. The alien took 3 steps, then collapsed. Tom hesitated only a moment before rushing forward. Soldier or civilian, human or not, someone who needed help was someone who needed help. The alien was lighter than expected as Tom carried it back to his truck. It breathed in quick, shallow gasps. Dark blue liquid, blood, he guessed, seeped from a wound in its side. "Hang in there," Tom said, knowing the alien probably couldn't understand him. "I'll get you patched up." 3 days passed before the alien woke up. Tom had placed it on his guest bed and done his best to clean and bandage the wound. The blue blood had hardened quickly, which seemed like a good sign. Tom was reading in a chair beside the bed when silver eyes suddenly opened. "You're awake," Tom said, setting his book down. "How do you feel?" The alien stared at him, then touched its side where the wound was. It spoke, a series of musical tones and clicks. "I don't understand you," Tom said slowly. The alien frowned, then pointed to its throat, then to its ear, then to Tom. "You want to understand me, and you want me to understand you?" The alien nodded. "Well, that's a start," Tom said. "My name is Tom Miller." He pointed to himself. "Tom." The alien seemed to consider this, then pointed to itself and made a sound like Ilara. "Ilara? That's your name?" Another nod. Ilara slowly sat up, wincing slightly. Then she reached for a small device attached to her uniform. The device had been damaged, but Ilara worked on it with slender fingers, adjusting tiny components. After a few minutes, she held it up to her throat and spoke again. This time, a mechanical voice emerged. "Thank you for saving me, Tom Miller." Tom couldn't help but smile. "You're welcome, Ilara. And just Tom is fine." "Just Tom," Ilara repeated, her actual voice making musical sounds while the device translated. "I am in your debt. My ship was attacked. I had to make an emergency landing on your world. I figured as much. Who attacked you?" Ilara's silver eyes darkened. "The Void Dominion. We have been at war with them for, in your time measurement, approximately 300 years. Tom whistled. "That's a long war." "Yes. My people, the Luminaries have fought to keep them from conquering the galaxy. We were winning until recently. Ilara tried to stand but wobbled. Easy, Tom said, helping her sit back down. You're still healing. I don't have time to heal, Ilara said, urgency in her voice despite the flat tone of the translator. My ship sent out an emergency signal before I crashed. My people will come looking for me, but so will the Void Dominion. Your world is now known to both sides. Tom felt a chill run down his spine. And that's bad? Very bad. The Void Dominion conquers and enslaves, and they will see your species as... Ilara paused, studying Tom with those silver eyes. As useful weapons. Weapons? Us? You don't know what you are, do you? Ilara asked. Your kind is different. Most species in the galaxy are specialized, evolved for specific environments and purposes. But you humans, she gestured at Tom, you are adaptable in ways that frighten most spacefaring races. Tom laughed. We're just people, nothing special. You can survive extreme temperature ranges, you can eat almost anything. You heal from injuries that would kill most species. And your history, Ilara shuddered. We studied your broadcasts while monitoring this sector. Your wars, your ability to keep fighting despite terrible injuries, your endurance. These things are not normal, Tom. Before Tom could respond, a high-pitched beeping came from Ilara's uniform. She quickly tapped another device and her expression changed to one of alarm. What is it? Tom asked. A Void Dominion scout ship has entered your solar system. They're coming to investigate my crash. Tom stood up. What do we need to do? We need to warn your leaders. The war has reached Earth, and they need to prepare. Ilara looked up at Tom, her silver eyes reflecting the afternoon sunlight streaming through the window. Because once the Void Dominion sees what humans are capable of, they will either want to use you or destroy you. Tom grabbed his phone. I know some people from my military days, people who might believe us. As he dialed, he looked out the window at the peaceful countryside. The world seemed so normal, so quiet. But up there, beyond the blue sky, everything was about to change. The war had reached Earth, and humanity was about to discover its place in a galaxy that would find them terrifying. 1 month after the crash, the world had changed. Tom's phone call had set off a chain of events that led all the way to the White House. Within days, Ilara was meeting with world leaders, explaining the war that had raged across the stars for centuries. Some believed her warnings, others did not. But everyone agreed on one thing: Earth needed to prepare. Meanwhile, high above the planet, hidden ships watched. Commander Rex of the Void Dominion stood on the bridge of his cloaked observation vessel, his red eyes narrowed as he studied the screens before him. Each screen showed different humans going about their daily lives. Some showed military bases, others showed ordinary cities. Fascinating creatures, said his science officer Kate. Unlike Rex, whose gray skin was covered in ridge-like patterns, Kate looked almost human. The Void Dominion included many species, all united under one goal: expansion. Fascinating and disturbing, Rex replied. Look at this footage again. He gestured, and one screen enlarged to show a human sporting event. 2 men were fighting in a ring, their faces bloody, bodies bruised. Yet they continued, neither giving up despite their injuries. Any normal species would be in shock from such damage, Rex said. But they continue fighting as if it's nothing. Their entire history is like this, Kate added, bringing up new images. They fight wars where millions die, then rebuild and fight again. They survive in deserts, in Arctic regions, in mountains with little oxygen. They eat plants and animals. Some even eat things that should poison them, just for pleasure. Rex moved closer to the screen, his clawed hand touching the image of a human child playing. And they reproduce quickly, a dangerous combination. Commander, called another officer from across the bridge. The luminaries have established contact with the human governments. Our spies report they're discussing an alliance, Rex hissed, showing sharp teeth. We cannot allow this. These humans, They're too unpredictable, too adaptable. If the luminaries harness them as weapons, he turned to Kate. Send in the probe team. I want live specimens. On Earth, preparations continued. Tom and Alara stood inside a massive underground bunker that had once been a military storage facility. Now it was the headquarters for Earth's new defense initiative. Scientists and soldiers worked side by side, studying pieces of technology salvaged from Alara's ship. Your people learn quickly, Alara said, watching as a team reverse-engineered her ship's communication system. Tom nodded. When we need to, we can do almost anything. That's what worries me, Alara replied quietly. My people, the luminaries, value peace and harmony. We fight the Void Dominion because we must, but war does not come naturally to us. And you think it comes naturally to humans? Tom asked. Alara's silver eyes met his. Your history suggests it does. Your bodies are built for it in ways you don't realize. Most species in the galaxy evolved to fill specific ecological niches. But humans, you evolved to adapt to anything, to survive anything. Before Tom could answer, alarms began to sound. Red lights flashed throughout the bunker. General Ray, the facility commander, rushed over. We've got multiple breaches at surface level. Something got past our perimeter. Security screens showed dark figures moving through the facility. They weren't human. Void Dominion probe team, Alara said, her voice tight. They're here to capture humans for study. Not on my watch, Tom said, grabbing a rifle from a nearby weapons rack. Even at his age, military training kicked in automatically. General Ray was already organizing defense teams. Remember your training, people. Use the modified weapons with the blue markers. Regular bullets don't work well on their armor. The modified weapons had been enhanced using technology from Alara's ship. They weren't as advanced as real alien weapons, but they were better than anything Earth had before. Alara grabbed Tom's arm. Be careful. They won't expect humans to be as dangerous as you are. Tom gave her a grim smile. That works in our favor. Commander Rex watched through the eyes of his probe team. The feed came directly to his ship, showing what his soldiers saw as they infiltrated the human facility. Primitive defenses, reported the team leader. We've breached the outer layers easily. Good, Rex said. Capture at least 3 specimens, preferably of different types. We need to understand their biology better. The feed showed the team moving deeper into the facility. Then suddenly, chaos. Humans appeared from side corridors, firing weapons that shouldn't have been able to damage Void Dominion armor, but somehow did. The humans moved with shocking speed and coordination. Rex leaned forward, watching in disbelief as his elite soldiers began to fall back. What's happening? He demanded. Sir, the team leader's voice was strained. These humans, they're not fighting like primitives. They're using our own tactics against us, and they don't stop when injured. The feed showed a human soldier taking a hit to the shoulder, a hit that should have put any reasonable being down. But the human simply switched his weapon to his other hand and kept firing. Another human, blood streaming from a cut on her forehead, tackled one of Rex's soldiers to the ground, fighting with raw strength that shouldn't have been possible for a species so recently introduced to interstellar threats. A retreat, Rex ordered finally. Get out of there. But it was too late. The feed from most of his team went dead. Only the team leader's camera still transmitted. Rex watched as the leader was surrounded by humans, led by an older male who moved, with the confidence of a veteran warrior. Tom Miller's face filled the screen as he examined the alien soldier. You tell your commander something, Tom said, somehow knowing the feed was being watched. Earth isn't yours for the taking. We've been fighting our own kind for thousands of years. Trust me, you don't want to make us your enemy. The feed cut to static. Rex stood in silence on his bridge. After a long moment, he turned to Kate. Send all our observation data to High Command, he said quietly. These human, they're not just primitives. They're dangerous in ways we didn't anticipate. Kate nodded, her expression troubled. Sir, should we launch a full attack now before they become more of a threat? Rex stared at the blank screen where Tom Miller's determined face had been moments before. No, he said finally. We need to understand them better first. High Command needs to see what we're dealing with. He turned back to the observation screens, watching as humans around the world continued their daily routines, unaware they were being studied. The luminaries think they've found allies, Rex said softly. But they don't truly understand what they've discovered. These humans aren't just another species to recruit. They're something else entirely. In the darkness of space, more void, Dominion ships were already answering Rex's call, moving toward the small blue planet that had suddenly become the most important battlefield in a war that had raged for centuries. Earth was no longer just another world. It was a weapon waiting to be used. 3 months after the probe team incident, Earth was changing faster than anyone could have imagined. Military bases around the world now housed strange new technologies. Scientists worked day and night to understand the alien devices recovered from both Alara's ship and the captured Void Dominion soldiers. World leaders met regularly, setting aside old conflicts to face the new threat from the stars. At the heart of it all was the newly formed Earth Defense Command, headquartered in the underground bunker where Tom and Alara had fought off the Void Dominion probe. They're coming, Alara said, standing before a room full of military leaders from around the world. My people's scouts report that the Void Dominion has gathered a small attack fleet. They call it a correction force. General Ray frowned. How small is small? 5 warships, Alara replied. In most conflicts, that would be enough to subdue an entire planet at your technology level. But you don't think it will be enough? For Earth, Tom said. He now wore a uniform with a special advisor patch on the shoulder. Ilara's silver eyes seemed troubled. I don't know. You've made remarkable progress adapting our technology, but you're still far behind both the luminaries and the Void Dominion. Dr. Jane Foster, the lead scientist of the Earth Defense Program, stood up. She was tall and focused, with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. We may be behind in technology, she said, but we've made some interesting discoveries about ourselves compared to our visitors. She tapped a tablet, and the large screen behind her lit up with images comparing human biology to that of the luminaries and Void Dominion. Both alien species evolved in environments far more stable than Earth, Dr. Foster explained. Their bodies are specialized, efficient, yes, but with limitations. Humans, on the other hand, evolved on a planet of constant change and challenge. She showed more images. Humans living in deserts and Arctic conditions, in mountains and jungles. We can survive extreme heat and cold. We can eat almost anything. We can keep fighting despite injuries that would incapacitate most other species. Dr. Foster looked around the room. In simple terms, we're the biological equivalent of all-terrain vehicles, while our visitors are more like Formula One race cars, fast and advanced, but only under specific conditions. General Ray nodded. So how do we use this to our advantage? By doing what humans have always done, Tom said, standing up, adapting and surprising our enemies. High in orbit around Earth, Commander Rex watched as his 5 warships moved into position. This was no longer just an observation mission. After the probe team's defeat, High Command had authorized a limited strike, a test of human capabilities. Begin the attack, Rex ordered. Target their military installations only. Remember, this is an assessment, not a conquest. Across the Yao planet, alarms sounded as Void Dominion ships descended through the atmosphere. They targeted major military bases in North America, Europe, Asia, and the Middle East simultaneously. The first base to be hit was in the Nevada desert. Void Dominion energy weapons sliced through hangars and command buildings. Soldiers ran for shelter or to defensive positions. Commander Rex watched the feeds with satisfaction. As expected, their primitive weapons cannot harm our... He stopped mid-sentence. On the screen, human aircraft were rising to meet his attack ships, but they didn't look fully human anymore. They had been modified with elements of recovered alien technology. Impossible, Rex whispered. They couldn't have adapted our technology so quickly. but they had. The hybrid human-alien aircraft opened fire. Their weapons weren't as powerful as true Void Dominion weapons, but they were effective enough to damage the attacking ships. And there were a lot of them. "Sir," his second-in-command reported, "we're seeing the same response at all attack sites. The humans have modified their weapons using our technology." Rex gripped the edge of his command chair. How? It should have taken them years to understand even the basics. On the screens, the battle continued. A Void Dominion attack ship took heavy damage and was forced to retreat. Another was surrounded by smaller human aircraft that swarmed it like angry insects. "New data coming in," Kate said, her voice tense. "The humans are showing unusual battlefield behavior." The screen shifted to show ground combat where Void Dominion soldiers had landed. Human soldiers were fighting with a mix of their own weapons and modified alien technology. But what shocked Rex was how they fought. He watched as a human soldier was hit in the leg by an energy weapon, a wound that should have ended the fight. Instead, the human applied a quick field bandage and continued firing. Another human, badly burned on one arm, simply switched hands and kept throwing explosive devices. "This isn't normal," Kate said quietly. "Most species go into shock from such injuries. Their survival instinct forces them to retreat. Humans seem to have a different kind of survival instinct," Rex replied, watching the battle unfold with growing concern. At one base, Void Dominion forces had breached the perimeter, only to discover the humans had prepared a trap. They were lured into a narrow zone where the temperature had been artificially raised to levels uncomfortable for Void Dominion biology, while the humans fought on, sweating but effective. At another site, humans had flooded an area, forcing the Void Dominion troops into knee-deep water that slowed them down and interfered with their equipment. The humans, meanwhile, moved through it as if it were nothing. After 4 hours of fighting, Rex was forced to give the order to retreat. "All ships, return to orbit. This assessment is complete." His officers looked at him with shock and confusion, but they obeyed. As the damaged Void Dominion fleet regrouped in orbit, Rex received an unexpected transmission. It was from one of the human bases, and the face that appeared on his screen was Tom Miller's. "Next time, bring more ships," Tom said simply. The transmission ended, leaving Rex staring at a blank screen. "Sir," Kate said after a long silence, "we need to report to High Command." Rex nodded slowly. "Yes, tell them." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Tell them we have encountered a species unlike any we have faced before. Tell them humans are not merely primitive beings with some interesting adaptations." He turned to look at the blue-green planet below. "Tell them humans are living weapons evolved on a world that should have killed them 1,000 times over. Tell them that instead of dying, humans became something terrifying." In the silence that followed, the Void Dominion fleet began its retreat from Earth, leaving behind damaged ships and wounded soldiers, and a planet of humans who now knew they could fight back against the stars themselves. On Earth, celebrations began. The first engagement had ended in victory, but Tom and Alara knew this was just the beginning. The real war was coming. 2 weeks after Earth's victory against the Void Dominion's attack, a new fleet appeared in the sky. This time, it was the Luminaries. Unlike the Void Dominion's dark, angular ships, the Luminary vessels were smooth and gleamed like pearls in the sunlight. They made no aggressive moves, instead broadcasting a message of peace to all of Earth's communication channels. "We come as allies against our common enemy," the message said. World leaders gathered at the United Nations to meet with Admiral Nix, the commander of the Luminary fleet. Alara stood at his side, serving as a bridge between the two species. Tom watched from the back of the room as Admiral Nix addressed the assembly. The Admiral was taller than Alara, with the same blue-tinted skin and silver eyes, but his had flecks of gold in them, a sign of age and rank among the Luminaries. "The Void Dominion has fought us for centuries," Admiral Nix explained through his translator. "We have held them back but never defeated them. Now they retreat from Earth after a single battle." He looked around the room with obvious respect. "We wish to form an alliance with humanity." The President of the United States stood up. We welcome your friendship, Admiral, but we need to understand what we're getting into. This isn't our war. It became your war the moment the Void Dominion discovered Earth, Admiral Nix replied. They will return with a larger force. Together we can defend your world and perhaps end this conflict forever. After hours of discussion, a tentative alliance was formed. The luminaries would share their advanced technology with Earth, and, in return, human soldiers would join the fight against the Void Dominion. 1 month later, Tom found himself aboard the luminary flagship, the Starlight Sentinel. With him were 50 human soldiers, selected from armies around the world, along with Dr. Foster, who continued her study of alien biology. The humans had been given quarters in a section of the ship adjusted to Earth conditions. But even with these accommodations, the luminaries seemed nervous around their new allies. "They're afraid of us," Tom said to Alara as they walked through the ship's main corridor. Several luminary crew members had moved aside as they approached, their silver eyes wide. Alara nodded. "They've heard about how you fought off the Void Dominion, about how humans continue fighting despite injuries that would stop most species. That's just being human," Tom shrugged. "That's what frightens them," Alara replied quietly. They entered the ship's command center, where Admiral Nix was studying a star map with Dr. Foster. "Fascinating," Dr. Foster was saying. "So both the luminaries and the Void Dominion believe they originally came from this cluster of stars?" Admiral Nix nodded. "The cradle worlds, we call them. Ancient planets where our civilizations began. The Void Dominion believes they alone have the right to control them. We believe they should be open to all." "Is that what this war is really about?" Tom asked. "A bunch of old planets?" Admiral Nix turned to him. "The cradle worlds hold secrets of our origins, technology beyond even what we possess now. Whoever controls them controls the future of all species in this galaxy." Before Tom could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Void Dominion attack fleet detected," a luminary officer called out. "3 warships approaching fast." Admiral Nix moved quickly to his command station. "Prepare for battle." The Starlight Sentinel shuddered as it changed course to meet the threat. On the main view screen, 3 dark ships appeared, weapons already firing. "Admiral," Tom said, "let us help. My soldiers are ready." Admiral Nix hesitated, then nodded. "Very well. Report to Defense Station 3. Tom ran to gather his team. Within minutes, they were at their assigned posts, operating weapon systems that had been modified for human use. The battle was fierce. Energy beams cut through space between the ships. The Starlight Sentinel took heavy damage to its lower decks. "We've captured a Void Dominion communication," a luminary officer reported. "They're targeting the research section." Dr. Foster was in the research labs, studying samples from both alien species. Tom immediately redirected his team to defend that section of the ship. They arrived just as a boarding party of Void Dominion soldiers cut through the hull. The alien soldiers were tall and heavily armored, with weapons built into their suits. "Protect the labs," Tom shouted as his team engaged the invaders. The fight was brutal. Even with their new weapons and armor, the humans took casualties. But true to their nature, they fought on despite injuries, driving the Void Dominion forces back step by step. Inside the main lab, Dr. Foster was frantically downloading data as a high-ranking Void Dominion officer broke through the door. Unlike the others, this one wore an elaborate helmet with a red visor. "Stop," the officer commanded, aiming a weapon at Dr. Foster. To her surprise, the translator in her suit understood him. "Step away from those terminals." "Why are you so interested in my research?" Dr. Foster asked, buying time as she heard Tom's team fighting outside. The officer came closer. "Because you've discovered the truth, haven't you, about the cradle worlds?" Dr. Foster's eyes narrowed. "I've found something interesting in the genetic samples, yes. Both luminaries and Void Dominion share certain markers. You're related species." "More than related," the officer said. He removed his helmet, revealing gray skin with ridge-like patterns and red eyes. It was Commander Rex. "We believe we both descended from a single species, a species that vanished. from the cradle worlds long ago. At that moment, Tom burst into the lab, weapon raised. "Step away from her." Rex didn't move. "Tell him what else you found, Doctor. Tell him about the third set of markers." Dr. Foster looked from Rex to Tom, her face pale. "I found similarities between both alien species and human DNA. Small, but unmistakable." "Impossible," Tom said. "Is it?" Rex asked. "Your kind adapts to everything, survives everything. No natural species evolves such traits without reason." The ship shuddered as another blast hit it. Rex used the distraction to move toward the exit, but he left a small device on the lab table. "This contains our research on the cradle worlds," he said. "Compare it to your own. Then ask your new luminary friends why they never told you the full truth about this war." With that, he was gone, retreating with what remained of his boarding party. When the battle ended, the Void Dominion ships withdrew. The luminaries celebrated their victory, but Tom and Dr. Foster sat in the damaged lab, examining the data Rex had left behind. "He wasn't lying," Dr. Foster said finally, looking up from her screens. "According to this and my own research, humans share genetic markers with both alien species, but our version is more primitive, more basic." "What are you saying?" Tom asked, though he already suspected the answer. "I'm saying," Dr. Foster replied, "that we might be what came before. The original species that left the cradle worlds and evolved differently on different planets." Tom looked out the viewport, at the stars beyond. "So this whole war might be a family fight," Dr. Foster finished. "And Earth might be the long-lost home everyone's been fighting over." The revelation hung between them like a physical weight. If true, it changed everything about the war that had now reached Earth. And somewhere out in space, both the luminaries and the Void Dominion were about to learn the truth as well. The news spread quickly, first among the human forces aboard the luminary ships, then to Earth's leaders, finally to the common people of Earth. Humans were not just another species in the galaxy. They might be the ancestors of both warring alien factions. Admiral Nix had not denied it when confronted with Dr. Foster's evidence. "We had suspicions," he admitted in a tense meeting with Tom, Dr. Foster, and other human representatives. "Ancient records spoke of the first ones who left the cradle worlds long ago, but we never imagined they would be so different from us." "You mean so primitive," Tom said. Admiral Nix's silver eyes lowered. "Technologically, yes, but in other ways, you are far beyond us." Before anyone could discuss this further, emergency alarms blared throughout the ship. "Massive Void Dominion fleet detected," a luminary officer reported, voice tight with fear. "They're heading directly for Earth, 50 warships at least." Tom felt his blood run cold. "They're not coming to talk." "No," Admiral Nix agreed. "They're coming to eliminate the threat. If humans truly are the ancestors of both our peoples, the Void Dominion will see you as too dangerous to exist." Tom looked at the tactical display showing the incoming fleet. "We need to get back to Earth now." 2 days later, Earth faced its greatest challenge, the sky over every major city filled with dark, angular ships. The Void Dominion had arrived in force, determined to end the human problem before Earth could fully join the Galactic War. Tom stood in the command center of Earth Defense Headquarters, surrounded by military leaders from around the world. The luminary ships had taken position around Earth, ready to defend their new allies, but they were outnumbered 3-1. "All defense stations report ready," General Ray announced. "Our new weapon systems are online. The luminaries are in defensive formation," another officer added. "But the Void Dominion fleet is spreading to target multiple cities simultaneously." Tom looked at the screen showing millions of people being evacuated from cities around the pool world. "We need more time." At that moment, Dr. Foster rushed into the room. "I've done it," she exclaimed, holding up a small data device. "Working with Alara, I've compiled all the genetic evidence. It's conclusive and irrefutable. Humans are the original species from which both the luminaries and Void Dominion evolved." "Great," Tom said. "But how does that help us right now? We can broadcast it," Dr. Foster replied, "to every ship in orbit. If enough of the Void Dominion forces see the evidence, it might cause confusion in their ranks. Some might refuse to attack their own ancestors. It was a slim hope, but it was something. Tom turned to the communications officer. Get that broadcast. Ready. We'll send it on all frequencies as soon as the battle begins. Outside, the sky darkened as the Void Dominion ships moved into attack position. All units, Tom said into the global command channel. Remember your training. We've beaten them once. We can do it again. The first strikes hit major military installations around the world. Energy beams carved through reinforced concrete and steel as if they were paper. The ground shook with explosions. The human and luminary forces responded immediately. New hybrid fighter craft rose from hidden bunkers. Ground-based energy weapons, reverse-engineered from alien technology, fired back at the attacking ships. In orbit, the luminary fleet engaged the Void Dominion warships, blue-white energy beams, meeting red-orange ones in silent flashes visible from the ground. Broadcast the data now, Tom ordered as the battle intensified. Dr. Foster's evidence began streaming to every ship in orbit. The genetic analysis, the evolutionary charts, the undeniable proof that humans were the original species that had seeded the stars long ago at P. First, nothing seemed to change. The battle continued, fierce and devastating. Then something unexpected happened. 3 Void Dominion ships stopped firing. Then 5 more. Their weapons went silent as the evidence reached their crews. On the command ship of the Void Dominion fleet, Commander Rex stood before his High Commander, a massive figure whose gray skin was almost black with age. The data appears genuine. High Commander, Rex said, showing the analysis on the main screen. The humans are our ancestors, the original species we all descended from. The High Commander's red eyes narrowed. This changes nothing. They are primitive and dangerous. Look at them fight. On the tactical displays, the battle raged. Human, soldiers fought with a ferocity that shocked even hardened Void Dominion warriors. They continued fighting despite injuries, adapting to alien tactics in real time, using their environment in ways neither the Luminaries nor Void Dominion would have considered. In one area, humans had lured Void Dominion ground forces into a forest, then set the trees ablaze, creating a trap of smoke and fire. In another, they fought in knee-deep water, knowing the electrical systems in Void Dominion armor would short-circuit. This is why they must be eliminated, the High Commander insisted. They are too unpredictable. Rex looked at the screen, watching a human medic treat wounded aliens from both sides with equal care. Or perhaps this is why they survived when we left the Cradle Worlds. Perhaps this adaptability is what we've lost. The High Commander turned to give an order, but stopped when alarms sounded throughout the ship. Sir, an officer reported, 8 of our warships have broken formation. They're refusing to continue the attack. What? The High Commander roared. Their commanders are saying they won't fire on the humans anymore, not after seeing the evidence. The rebellion spread. More Void Dominion ships went silent, their crews debating the morality of destroying what might be their own ancestral species. Some turned their weapons away from Earth. Others began to retreat. On Earth, Tom watched in amazement as nearly a third of the Void Dominion fleet withdrew from battle. It's working, Dr. Foster whispered. They can't ignore the truth. The tide of battle turned. With fewer enemies to fight, the combined human and luminary forces began to push back the remaining Void Dominion ships. After 6 hours of intense fighting, the High Commander gave the order to retreat. The Void Dominion fleet pulled back, leaving Earth battered but undefeated. As the last enemy ships disappeared into the darkness of space, celebrations erupted around the world. Humans had faced their first true interstellar war and survived. In the command center, Tom found Alara looking at the stars through a damaged window. It's not over, she said quietly. I know, Tom replied, but something has changed. We've shown both sides what humans are capable of. Yes, Alara agreed, turning to face him. Her silver eyes reflected the emergency lights of the damaged facility. And that's what truly terrifies everyone. Not just that you fight so well, but that somewhere in our past we were all like you. Tom looked up at the night sky where the battle had raged hours before. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. Maybe the galaxy needs to remember what it means to be human. As dawn broke over a changed Earth, humanity took its first true steps into a larger universe, not just as newcomers, but as the unexpected ancestors of a galactic civilization that had forgotten its own origins. And somewhere in the stars, both the luminaries and the Void Dominion began to look at humans not just as terrifying creatures, but as a mirror of what they once were, and perhaps what they might become again.